Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is from... I can't read it. SaturdayEveningPost.com. Okay, this is dated September 27th, 2021. Our best reporting, Scientology exposed. In one of the earliest investigations of the new American religion, a reporter casts, you guys know what's up, a jaundiced eye on sci-fi author L. Ron Hubbard's extraordinary claims by James Phelan. Dr. Hubbard is a big orange-haired 52-year-old American who describes himself as an author, explorer, scientist, which he's not, boatsman, engineer, glider pilot, philosopher, movie writer, and student of the occult. Sound like a narcissist? The most fascinating side of his many-faceted career, however, is the doctor before his name. He is not an MD, but a DSCN, which stands for Doctor of Scientology. You know, when you could just make up words. This is a degree that brings a look of puzzlement to a Johns Hopkins or a Harvard registrar. But Scientology, a growing international movement with branches on all 5 continents, is close to Dr. Hubbard's heart. He is not only its head and best-known practitioner, he actually invented it. Essentially, Scientology is an outgrowth of an American fad of the early 1950s called Dianetics, also invented by Dr. L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology purports to be a religion, but it is not affiliated with any of the broad U.S. church movements. It has elements that resemble psychoanalysis, though leading psychiatrists bitterly reject it. Yeah, because it's fake. Even Hubbard himself seems to have difficulty defining it. He currently calls it the common people's science of life and betterment, but this is only the latest of a series of definitions that he has tried and discarded. In view of its tremendous scope, its odd procedures, and the remarkable feats claimed for it, an attempt to compress Scientology into the few words of a definition is much like trying to gift wrap a dozen live eels. It is easier to explain what Scientologists do for a fee. Hubbard's followers will audit, interrogate, or listen to people like children who have troubles. They use a small battery-run machine known as Hubbard E-meter while they are auditing the people with troubles, whom they call pre-clears. Going up the bridge of slavery. The machine who has 2 wires running out of it, and these are clamped to a couple of tin cans, which the pre-clear holds while he is being audited. The E-meter has knobs and a large dial with a needle, and as a person talks, the needle moves around, which presumably means something to the Scientologist. Do you guys get Charlie Igloo Alpha vibes? If you didn't get Charlie Igloo Alpha vibes, you should. Lux life in a daily ritual. Daily ritual. What is that he's got in the tray? Oh, it's just a tray. Shepherdson Hubbard's butler serves him a Coke on a silver tray. Isn't that wonderful, you guys? Hold on. Okay, I had to check and make sure I had the right article. I'm waiting to see Scientology get exposed. As Hubbard explains it, the meter tells you what the pre-clear's mind is doing. Mind control. When the pre-clear is made to think of something. Remember those questions that I had brought up in one of the articles I read yesterday, where they were having one of the drills they were making people do. They had to look for females, like young females and then older females, and then record their cognition, which is thought about it. They're harvesting people's thoughts, kind of like the data mining of 2025. The meter tells you what the pre-clear's mind is doing when the pre-clear is made to think of something, like a cognition. If they're emotionally disturbed about cats, and they're talking about cats, the needle flies about. If they're not disturbed about cats, the needle doesn't fly about, it floats. I'm just saying, I'm adding in here, it floats. So you let them talk about cats until they're no longer disturbed about cats. And then the needle no longer flies about. The goal, of course, is to get clear. At various times, Hubbard has held that Scientology can cure some 70% of men's illnesses. That's why everyone in Scientology is so ill, right? So many of them have cancer and all these, various diseases. That it is the counterforce to the H-bomb, B-O-M-B, threat, and that it can make you immune to the common cold. He maintains that Scientology can raise a person's IQ. Did this fool actually believe this stuff? 1 point per hour of auditing, at a really large cost, right? Our most spectacular feat was raising a boy from 83 IQ to 212. The fact that he even got away with this makes you know there was some type of either secret society or government involvement. Come on, you guys. Hubbard told this reporter, he claims that it can improve the performance of astronauts and help jet pilots avoid crashes, that it can arrest the aging process and make you look younger, and it will restore psychotic persons. Do you guys think it was a coincidence that he was obsessed with psychosis and psychotic people? One, he had a lot of episodes of psychosis. And number two, people that were doing these auditing, especially when they get to OT 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're having psychotic breaks. What they were doing was causing psychosis. Another inversion. Hello? That it will restore psychotic persons to sanity much faster and cheaper than psychiatry. I saw Ron do it in an asylum, says a California follower. Like a groupie. He just went along snapping his fingers at them and saying, come up to present time, come up to present time. Hypnosis, anyone? And along with all this, says Hubbard, a Scientologist can move a person out of his body and let him stand over in a corner and look at himself. It's just out-of-body experiences. We don't like to publicize this, says Hubbard, who has publicized it in his pamphlets. It makes people uneasy. Wonder why that would be. If these marvels seem reminiscent of the old-time snake oil peddler, let it be said that there's nothing old-time about L. Ron Hubbard. A few feet from his desk stands a telex giving him instant communication with his far-flung branches. Hubbard speaks easily and with seeming authority about physics, mathematics, nuclear fission, or indeed almost any science, and salts his conversation with phrases like small energy measurement, stimulus response cycle, and things like that. Scientology literature frequently refers to him as an engineer, a mathematician, propaganda, anyone, and a nuclear physicist. He flunked physics. Who's Who in the Southwest credits him with an engineering degree at George Washington University. The university does not. Today, besides his Doctor of Scientology, he appends a PhD to his name. He got it, he says, from Sequoia University. This was a Los Angeles establishment, once housed in a residential dwelling, whose degrees are not recognized by any accredited college or university. Hubbard, who was born in Tilden, Nebraska in 1911, has been married 3 times, divorced twice, and is the father of 7 children. Somewhere along the way, he took up the writing of science fiction, and both Dianetics and Scientology show the strong influence of his former craft. Both Scientology and science fiction are characterized by arcane words and by invented terms, phrases, and abbreviations. Hubbard's followers also deal with and knowingly discuss such things as down bouncers, thetans, messed bodies, lock scanning, dub-ins, rock slams, hops, bops, and engrams. All made-up terms. And then he stole all these definitions from other philosophies or sciences, and then he changed the name, and then he called it his own. That's what he did. Fees vary in the academics, but you can get a short, intensive course of hours for $700 or $800. According to a Scientology pamphlet, a complete Freudian analysis costs $8,000 to $15,000. Better results can be achieved in Scientology for $25 and on a group basis for a few dollars. Unfortunately, Scientology does not straighten out every client at these bargain basement figures. Police cited a record of a Florida millionaire who spent $28,000 on Scientology processing in less than 2 years. His only complaint was of nervousness. People who encounter Scientology for the first time are astounded at its far-flung growth. Actually, Scientology did not have to start from scratch, but was able to rise phoenix-like from the ashes. That's like an occult reference, by the way. Of Dianetics, a craze which swept the U.S. in 1950. It originated with a book that Hubbard wrote in 60 days called Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. Overnight, Dianetics became a runway bestseller, although the learned journals of psychology, psychiatry, and medicine all ignored it. Dianetics preached that everybody had 2 minds, the analytical, similar to Freud's conscious, and the reactive, like Freud's unconscious. The analytical mind, Hubbard maintained, was a perfect computing machine incapable of error, except for engrams, which fueled up the computer. Engrams were recorded on your time track by your reactive mind when your analytical mind wasn't looking. For example, said Hubbard, a woman is knocked down by a blow. That's a perfect reference, isn't it? From one of the most misogynistic organizations there is on earth. A woman is knocked down by a blow. She is rendered unconscious. She is kicked and told that she is no good. A chair is overturned in the process. A faucet is running in the kitchen. The engram contains a running record of all these perceptions. Later, the engram gets keyed in, and all sorts of things can happen. The woman may feel a sensation of being kicked whenever she hears a faucet running. That's just like, this is neurolinguistic programming. Anthony Robbins talks a lot about this. He's not the only one. But it's an anchor. It's what you call an anchor. And that's also what they do in trauma-based mind control, is they create an anchor. I want to talk about stuff here, but I sort of can't. I'll just say like this. Do you guys remember when there was like a really, really tragic event on the East Coast of the United States? That created an anchor of trauma. That's all I'm going to say. And also, too, look into the whole P. Diddy. Go on Conquer, what's it called? Conquer Soul? Yeah, that's the name of the channel. Go listen to some of the accounts of P. Diddy. I know it's controlled opposition, but all trauma-based mind control. Occultic rituals. Can convalescence. A student holds metal can terminals of a device known as the Hubbard E-meter as an auditor seeks out troublesome engrams. Though Scientology is set up as a religion, auditors, interrogators, do not usually dress as ministers. They never do. Dianetics taught one how to erase engrams by auditing. You returned a person on his time track to the time of the engram and had him talk it out by reliving it. Once all the engrams were erased, a person would become a clear, highly intelligent, healthy with a great zest for life, enormously improved abilities, and a perfect memory. In short, a giant among pygmies. Dianetics was enough like psychoanalysis to impress a good many people, and also had the advantage that anyone who brought Hubbard's book could play doctor at home without all those tedious years in medical school. In no time, hundreds of thousands of Americans, armed with Hubbard's book, were playing Sigmund Freud for each other. That reminds me of Tori Christman. She said she wanted to be a doctor, and then she realized that, with all the medical, it would take like 14, 15 years of training, that she could just go into Scientology. And hold on one moment. I just wanted to parlay over and show you guys one of the last photographs of L. Ron Hubbard. Does that look like somebody you'd want to follow? I mean, look at him, you guys. Did he have all the superpowers and all that he was talking about? Hubbard established one important difference between Scientology and Dianetics. Instead of presenting it to the public as a science equal to, in importance, to the discovery of fire, he set it up as a religion. At the outset, this move distressed his followers, some of whom were science fiction fans, free thinkers, and even agnostics. But the rebellion dwindled, and the new faith went forth. With scarcely a whisper of publicity, Scientology spread and prospered. Hubbard himself took it to England, found that he liked the country, and settled there in St. Hill Manor, a spectacular mansion in Sussex, about 30 miles south of London, that was formerly owned by the Maharaja of Jaipur. Although he is a founder and unquestioned titular head of the Church of Scientology, Ron Hubbard does not look upon himself as patriarch, pope, bishop, or even elder. I control the operation, he says, as a general manager would control any operation of a company. According to Hubbard, a Scientologist can move a person out of his body and let him stand over in a corner and look at himself. Has anyone ever actually achieved it? The individual churches pay 10% of their take to the St. Hill Center, but Hubbard insists that he does not profit from Scientology, but draws only a token salary of $70 a week. I actually believe this. He claims he is independently wealthy and that Scientology is a labor of love. Just exactly where the 10% goes is not clear. Hubbard says he has spent $1 million or $2 on research. He does not like to talk about money. Opposite of Miscavige, right? He responds to questions about it with a smile, a sad shake of the head, and a comment about the American preoccupation. That I can agree with him on. It's probably the only thing you'll see me agree with Hubbard on. I'm just waiting until they destruct it. Some of his enemies have claimed that the very man who had discovered the clear had never himself been processed to that high plateau of almost superhuman ability. That is the wildest pitch I've ever heard, he said with indignation. Of course I processed to clear. However, the definition of clear has been changed somewhat from the old days of Dianetics, when it meant a man freed of engrams, with a flawlessly functioning mind. How's that all working out for people? Fantastic abilities and total recall. Since then, Hubbard has developed a new and slightly more modest definition of clear. It now means a person who has this lifetime straightened out. Having explained this, the master of St. Hill Manor rings for his butler, Shepherdson, who fetches his afternoon coke on a tray. If he wishes a bit of air, his chauffeur will wheel out a new American car, or his Jaguar. Could it be a child slave in Scientology? Inquiring minds want to know. And as he sits there, gazing contently out over the broad acres of what was once a Maharaja estate, the profound truth of what he says became apparent. Lafayette Ron Hubbard, Doctor of Scientology, may indeed be a man who has this lifetime straightened out. Well, you guys, they didn't really tear it apart like they should, but I'm going to post it anyways. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.